Hi everyone, this is Mindy Eggen for Honeybee Stamps, and in today's video I'm going to be creating a Christmas card. Now I know this might be a little early, but I think sometimes it's never too early to get started on those cards. And I really just, when I saw these wood slices from Honeybee Stamps, it totally reminded me of Christmas. The products that I'm going to be using today are the Lovely Layers Slice and Stump, Lovely Layers Pinecone. I have the pierced fancy die or fancy flakes, pierced fancy flakes, and then a sentiment from the holiday wreath stamp set. I also went ahead and picked out an assortment of cardstock that I will be using for my die cutting. And I'm going to start off by die cutting out these wood slices. So I picked out two of the shapes on there. There's kind of that edge that's going to go around the wood slice and the centerpiece. So the centerpiece I'm doing from craft cardstock, and then I have a dark brown color of cardstock for the edge of my stump. I'm also going to be using kind of these pine needle looking dies from the Lovely Layers Pinecone set that I die cut from a dark green cardstock. And then I'm going to layer my wood slices together with foam squares. This card project and video is actually pretty quick, but a lot of it is really just die cutting. You can spruce it up any way you want. I kind of wanted just a simple design with these wood slices because it reminded me of Christmas so much, and I really love the detail that these dies provide to the centers. Next, I'm going to take the pierced Fancy Flakes die, and I'm going to die cut this or pierce some red cardstock. So just like it says, it's going to pierce the cardstock with those snowflakes. There's also kind of a border that goes around this. So that size cardstock is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I didn't want to have that empty space for the border, so I'm just going to take this to my paper trimmer and I'm going to trim off 1/4 inch from each edge. So my final piece is going to measure 3 3/4 by 5 inches. Now I do want to step this background up a little bit, so I thought about doing here some tone-on-tone ink blending. So I found an ink color in my stash that looked like it was a shade darker than my cardstock, and I'm going around the very outer edges of this piece. You can see the ink kind of settles in to the piercings, which I do like, but the red just wasn't quite dark enough. So I'm bringing in a dark brown ink and I'm going to go around those outer edges. So that brown really does help step it up, especially when I already have a base layer of red ink underneath. I'm also going to take those pine needles or those sprigs. I tried ink blending on it, but they're just so fine, it didn't work. So I took that dark green ink and I literally am just kind of patting it on there or dabbing it on with my blending brush. And then I brought this over to my splat box and I have some white paint diluted with water that I'm going to flick all over these pine needles. I love to add splatters and flicks of white paint, so I thought why not bring in my background and do that as well. Of course, if you want more of a clean and simple design, you could leave out the splatters. Now, while these are all drying, I'm going to work on a sentiment. So I have my mini Misty with some white cardstock here, and I'm using a sentiment from the Holiday Wreath stamp set, The Season's Greetings. I thought was just a nice kind of all-around greeting for right now, and I'm going to ink that up in the Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink. I could also maybe have heat emboss this in gold to really add some shine to the project. Now, once I have that stamped down, I'm going to use the coordinating die and some Easy Seed tape to die cut that out. I also die cut out 2 more from white cardstock so I can layer them together with my precision glue and add dimension. It does get a little fine to work with or small to work with if I were to do foam squares behind it. So I really do enjoy layering my cardstock. Now back to my card panel, I layered that with foam tape and I'm going to add this to another piece of red cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I can start arranging my wood slices onto the front of the card. Once I kind of have an idea, I'm going to start adding some of these pine needles or these sprigs behind it. Now, I will admit this card design was heavily inspired by Dawn from W+9. She does some amazing arrangements. And I really loved the idea of having wood slices as the focal point, but I also wanted to stretch it past the summer and Father's Day theme. And like I said earlier in the video, wood slices, I just always think of Christmas because there's always those cute wood slice ornaments out around the holidays. So now I did go ahead, I attached that bigger piece of wood slice with liquid glue. I added some foam squares to one side of the smaller piece so I could layer those together. I added a little bit of foam tape behind my sentiment and then liquid glue because this is going to overlap a bit. So that way it's going to be flush across the front of my card. Now, I will admit, once I filmed the video and I sat and I looked at my card, I felt like it was missing something and I just could not figure it out. So I did text this to a couple friends and I added one more sprig that you're going to see here in the picture, just tucked underneath the sentiment, which is just a perfect finishing touch and helps tie that in a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed today's card project. Thank you so much for stopping by today.